Good evening, welcome to TDM Talk Show. Macau is holding its third International Film Festival. Over 50 Asian and Western films will be screened this year from December 8 to 14. IFFAM will also be a space for business development opportunities for emerging filmmakers, producers, and directors. We're now joined by the Artistic Director of IFFAM to tell us more about the upcoming event. Good evening, Mike.
Good evening, Karen.
So tell us about the International Film Festival. This is the third year that we are holding it here in Macau, but this is your second year.
It's only my second year, yes.
Right.
We're very excited about this event. Obviously, it was my first year last year. I think the festival went very well. We've been working all year to put together the program for this year's festival, and we just can't wait to bring it to the Macau public now. So that's our next challenge.
What are we expecting for this third edition?
Well, there are 54 films, all very varied, very eclectic bunch of films. Some big crowd pleasers, some for all the family, some exclusively for adults. Different types of drama, comedy, romantic comedy, horror. So there's something for everybody, I like to think.
A diverse, then, selection.
Absolutely diverse.
All right, so you, first of all, let's talk about you. You were a film critic, business journalist, and the former CEO of Protagonist Picture. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, Protagonist was a company I ran for 5 years as a CEO. It's a London-based company that was involved in financing and selling movies. So I had a very successful run there with about 100 films over the course of the 5 years that we put out into the world.
And how was the transition now that you're heading a film festival from what you used to do?
Well, there was a lot of learning, let me tell you, and you know, especially learning about Macau, and that was the big challenge for me, was coming to Macau and figuring out what the Macau audience was interested in terms of films and what we could provide for them.
Right, and what are the favorite movies that your personal favorite movies that, that you tell me that, it's worth to watch for, no?
Well, there are many, many films, obviously, for people to see this year. Some of the big awards movies coming from the US include Green Book, which is our opening night film, The Favourite, which is a British film which is getting a ton of awards everywhere it plays, Roma, which is a Mexican movie by Alfonso Cuarón, the great Mexican director, which, again, is being talked about as one of the best films of the year. So we've got some great high-profile films from North America and South America, but we've also got a bunch of films from Europe that are really fascinating. We have a fantastic thriller called Close Enemies that's set in Paris and is a classic police cops versus robbers movie.
Right.
We've got a heartbreaking film called You, July 22nd, which is about the massacre of the kids on the island of Utøya in Norway, which is a really beautiful story of friendship and kids protecting each other. So there are countless films.
MGTO director Elena Decena Fernandez calls it the young film festival.
Yes, I think when I came in, I very much wanted to have a competition section for first and second time filmmakers from around the world, but to reflect the fact that Macau has a very young film culture, film-going culture and film-making culture. You know, I was surprised because Macau is such a wonderful historical place that unlike Hong Kong, an hour away on the water, it doesn't have its own filmmaking history, that when people come and make films here, they use Hong Kong crews. It's often foreign directors. So I think the government here really is now starting to invest in young filmmakers, which is very exciting. So hence the competition.
Right. And then your talent ambassador for this year is Nicolas Cage. Let's talk about Nicolas Cage. Why is he the talent ambassador?
Well,
why did you choose him?
Personally, I love Nicolas Cage. I think he's a complete maverick in the film business. He does his own thing. But he's also a huge star in this part of the world. Across all of Asia, actually. And we played a film of his last year called Mom and Dad, which just reminded me what a talented, adventurous actor he really is. And so we have another film of his this year called Mandy, which, again, is an astonishing performance. He really commits to his roles. You can't deny it. And it's such an honor to be welcoming him here to talk about his career and to talk about Mandy.
And he will be here during the opening, right?
He's coming for the
December
opening.
8th?
Yes, the 8th and the 9th. Yeah.
And because there will be a master class, and tell us more about it. The master
Yes,
class.
I will be talking to him for an hour at the Wynn Macau next Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. So we're really going to delve deep into his career and some of the choices he's made in his career.
And so, did you have like an informal conversation with Nicolas? And
I haven't met Nicolas Cage
Oh,
yet.
you have
I
not.
did quite a while ago, many years ago, but I will look forward to seeing him the moment he arrives, and he knows exactly.
But he's been to Macau, right?
He's been to Macau before, yeah. He has
Okay.
strong Asia connections. You know, he made a couple of films with John
He's
Woo.
one of the famous actors in China.
Yes, he's
I
very
believe
famous
so.
in China.
I believe
yeah.
so.
There are very few Western actors that mean something in China, but he's one of them.
That's true. And you will open the festival with a movie screening of Green Book. So it reminds me of, I have seen the trailer and it looks very promising, and it won the People's Choice Award in the Toronto Festival.
Yes.
Could you tell us more? What are we expecting from this film?
This is a delightful film, which is a real crowd pleaser. But it's a very intelligent film, too, about a guy from New York who's a bit of a schlump in 1962, a bit of a small-town hood, who gets a job driving a very refined black musician around the Deep South. And they have to consult this thing called the Green Book, which tells you where it was acceptable for black people to stay in hotels or restaurants, what they were allowed to go to in those days, because, of course, it was such a strictly segregated part of America. And it's a beautiful story of friendship. It's very funny. It's very warm. And you do shed a tear at the end.
Oh no, it's always the weakness, especially for women. So last year you have featured The Shape of Water and it won big in the Oscars. Are we expecting the same thing?
Well, watch out for Roma, watch out for Green Book, and watch out for The Favourite.
The Favourite, what is that about?
The Favourite is a beautiful comedy. It's a British historical movie, but it's not like your average British historical period piece. It's a very, very witty, very, very amusing story about Queen Anne and the two women who vie for her influence. Queen Anne is played by Olivia Colman, and the two women are played by Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz.
Wow.
So it's three women. It's an interesting story because it's literally, the screen is dominated by these three women. But it's full of intrigue and deception. It's delicious.
Wow, okay. And you've added the new Chinese cinema section for this year?
Yep. We have, my programming team and I really feel that there's a really exciting movement in Chinese cinema at the moment. Bold, adventurous young directors, and we wanted to showcase some of those films. So we put together the section called New Chinese Cinema, and there are 6 very different films from Chinese-speaking territories that we think are the best of the year.
And which is very important also for Macau because of the audience.
Absolutely, and I don't think these films necessarily get distribution in Macau, so this is a real opportunity for everybody to enjoy what's going on in Chinese cinema.
And will there be any Asian movies, like, say, from the Southeast Asia?
We have films from all over Asia. We have a film from the Philippines. We have a couple from Indonesia. We have a beautiful film from Thailand called Manta Ray. We have films from India. You name it. Some from Korea. We've got 3 films from Korea. So, you know.
And there will be a lot of artists.
Absolutely. Most of the films have a director and an actor or a team coming to represent the film.
So how many professionals are we like expecting? For example, like the actors, will there be, during the screening, the opening, will there be a lot of
yeah, I mean, there'll be plenty of guests. I'm not going to spoil any surprises, but, you know, we have 3 talent ambassadors. Nicolas Cage, Aaron Kwok is coming for closing, and also the Korean pop star and actress Yoona, who we're really excited about having because she represents a whole new breed of young talent.
And tell us about the preparation, how hard it is to prepare a film festival.
It's a huge organization to prepare a film festival because not only do you have to invite the films and be accepted, you also have to then source all the materials. That sounds technical, but it's getting the print to show the film, it's getting all the stills and the press notes, it's making sure that the films are properly publicized in Macau. And then inviting the actors or the director or the producer and making sure that their travel and their accommodation.
Yeah.
It's a big, big organization. So there are lots of stakeholders. You know, there's the audience here, which is most important to me.
Right.
But then there's also the industry that's coming to look at Macau and to look at the festival. So there are different kinds of people we have to please.
And our jury for this year, how is it working for them?
They're all arriving later in the week. We're very pleased that Chen Kaige is coming. He's the great Chinese director from the mainland who is the chair of our jury. We have Mabel Chung from Hong Kong, Paul Curry, a producer from Australia.
Right.
We have Denis Tanovich, who's an Oscar-winning director from Bosnia in Europe, and an Indian actress called Tilatama Shomei.
I know her. No, it's very interesting.
She's wonderful. So it's an interesting bunch of different sensibilities, and we hope that the 11 films in competition will really excite them and stimulate discussion.
Wow. So it's hard work.
Yeah, we keep them busy.
Are we expecting you for like the coming years to be the head of the IFFAM?
I hope so. I mean, I'm really intrigued by building the festival as an event here. You know, Macau is quite a conservative place in terms of introducing new things.
I was about to ask, was it quite a challenge to start it last year and then you kind of like get the hang of it?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot to learn. There was a lot to learn about the organization here and how we were going to get the audiences in. But I think we really made progress last year, and I think we really got the word out to the people of Macau that we've got 50 films, 50 of the most interesting films of the year. A lot of them are brand new that nobody has seen before in the region, and it's just an opportunity. It's a gift, really, for any city, I think, to have a great film festival. So we just hope it goes from strength to strength.
And how is it working with the MGTO?
MGTO is our benefactor, and we're thrilled to be working with them. And, you know, obviously, it's the presentation of Macau as well when people arrive here. Our foreign guests, you know, we have probably about 400 foreign guests coming for the festival, which is a big number of people who will be looking at Macau and maybe saying, oh, this is a great looking city, I want to make a film here, you know, and that's the next step, I think, is to advertise Macau as a place to shoot, is to tell them about the amazing filmmaking talent here.
And the fusion of the culture.
Absolutely.
Portuguese and Chinese. Do you personally like Macau?
I love Macau. It's unique, I think.
Is it unique?
You know.
And what can you say about the growth of Macau as you can see it in terms of Macau cinema?
Well, as I said, it's a very young cinema here, and I think the challenge for the government and for the filmmakers is to grow that and to make an infrastructure, to make it to make good films, to make good shorts and then good features and get a reputation on the world stage. And I think that's what the festival is trying to help with, is to introduce the filmmakers of Macau to the international world.
Have you met any of the filmmakers here in Macau?
Of course, yeah. You know, I really enjoy meeting the filmmakers here and hope that we can encourage them and help their careers, because, you know, that's part of our mission.
And for the Portuguese side, how many films are we screening for this year?
Well, there's a film made in Macau by a Portuguese filmmaker, Ivo Ferreira, called Empire Hotel, which is a really interesting view of Macau and a really interesting film. So, I mean, Ivo is a world-class filmmaker. This is the first film he's shot in Macau, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what Macau audiences think.
Right, and you were telling me about the Diamantino. It's one of your personal...
I love Diamantino. This is a Portuguese film, and one of the best Portuguese films in some years, I think. It's a very broad, very funny comedy, very intelligent, kind of a crazy madcap comedy about a footballer called Diamantino who misses a penalty in the World Cup final and loses for Portugal. So he is sent into disgrace and gets involved in a plot to take over Portugal.
So is it more of like the production itself or the storyline?
It's just very funny, but it has a nice message about unity and the EU and anti-fascism that I think is really interesting.
How to cultivate audiences and attract more viewers? I understand this is only the third year for Macau. Do you have any preparations or, strategies?
Yeah, I mean, a large part of film festivals is word of mouth, is people telling their friends, oh, I saw this film in Macau and at the film festival and it was great. You should try it out next year. And I think that's, that takes a while. It takes a few years. And I think any film festival anywhere in the world, and Cannes and Venice and Berlin were the same when they started.
It started like that, so we're probably
It's about word of mouth, and for the foreign guests, it's about them telling their friends, God, I had a great time in Macau, you should go, it's a great festival. So it's going to take a few years to build up the reputation of the festival, both with our audiences and our guests, and I think we're off to a good start.
Let's talk about the Industry Hub. So I was checking the website, and there's this section about Industry Hub. What is it all about?
Well, we invite 250 industry from around the world to come to Macau. We have a very special project market, which is an event that takes place over 3 days, where 14 scripts are presented to the world's industry, and we introduce them to the filmmakers, we introduce them to the screenwriters, and they have an opportunity to get involved at a very early stage. So it's a matchmaking process.
It's a good platform for filmmakers, producers.
We have cash prizes that the filmmakers can win to help them in the next step of the production. And they might meet people here who will also invest in the film. So it's a really good way to get films incubated.
Right. So you're also a member of BAFTA.
Yes.
And
I'm based in the UK, so you have to be British to be in.
Of course. And then I remember I had this interview with Gary Dartnall. He's the former chairman of BAFTA. And it was way back in 2016, and he predicted that China will soon surpass the US market in terms of box office. And now I think he's right, because in the first quarter of 2018, China's theatrical box office overtook US or North America. Do you think China will have that same position in the coming years, or is it just like a temporary one?
China is a market that has just exploded. You can't say that it will ever be on the decline. It's a proper theatrical film market now. And yes, it's bigger than the US, as it should be. The population is many multiples of what the US is. And now they're going to the movies, so it's really powerful, and it's really exciting. It takes the emphasis away from American culture. I think we've been dominated for 100 years by American movie culture, and it's time for a change. It's time for a change.
What are the limitations on developing a local film industry?
Well, I don't think there should be any limitations. I think there's a lot to learn. I think there's a lot of technical elements that Macau needs to learn about shooting, about permitting, about having crews working on the streets of Macau. There's a lot of storytelling that still has to be refined, I think. But Macau's the same as anywhere. It's full of young people who want to tell stories on film, and people who are crazy about movies. So, it's the same as anywhere, and it should be allowed to tell those stories.
What about the evolution of Chinese language cinema?
I mean, it's a very exciting time for Chinese language cinema because, China produces huge blockbusters with huge movie stars and spectacular special effects, but it also has a very rich industry, and we're showcasing some of those films this year. Directors telling films in different ways, different types of storytelling. We've got a film by Zhang Yang, the great Chinese filmmaker, called Up the Mountain, which is a sort of fusion of documentary and drama set in Yunnan province about an artist from Shanghai who's gone to Yunnan and teaches all the local ladies how to paint. It's a really beautiful film and very contemplative, and I think if you want to go and meditate, you should go and see this film. Wow.
Okay, so do you have any limitations while screening for films? Like, you did not include any films that would probably offend, say, China, when it comes, for example, a film about freedom of expression?
We haven't encountered that here in Macau. I mean, I just haven't encountered that, funnily enough. It's not, we're looking for a program that is the best of world cinema, and we haven't been put off. I mean, Macau is is still quite a liberal country in terms of showing these films. And we show all the films to the Macau censor, and they have Macau censorship ratings. But there's nobody telling me that I can't play that or I can't play that.
Okay, and how's the sales going on so far?
Really well, really well. I mean, there are some of the smaller films that I obviously want to shine a light on.
Like which films?
Well, like You, July 22nd, like Cobain, a beautiful film from the Netherlands, which is about a teenager that will just absolutely rip your heart out. Again, bring your handkerchiefs, you know. It's Cobain. It's playing at the Cinematheca on Monday at 7 p.m.
Cinematheque on Monday. Okay, and what about the Asian? Do you have in one of the forums there's about the effect of the Asian? Is it? I think it's after the movie, the Asian film. There was a
Crazy Rich Asians.
Crazy Rich Asians. You have that. Tell us more about it.
Crazy Rich Asians, which we're not playing because it's played
everywhere.
It was
really massive. Yeah. But there's like a forum about it. What's the effect of that?
Yes, we are going to have a forum. We're going to ask lots of different constituents, including from the US and including from different Asian territories, actually, how important a film like that is, because its major impact was in the United States, where people were going to see a film with Asian faces like they've never been before. I mean, it was a huge blockbuster in the United States. And that's a change. That's a very significant change. So the question is, what was its impact around the world? You know, the film didn't do well when it opened in China last year.
Exactly. I was about to say that, but worldwide, it got like a really...
So we want to explore how this is going to impact the film business and films in the future. You know, this is a time of great diversity. We want to see different faces on the screen, black, white, Asian, you know, and Crazy Rich Asians has shown us that there's a huge appetite, or at least that nobody cares.
Come on.
Henry Golding.
He's a British, half Malaysian, right?
Yes, yeah, and I think he's going to be a big star, you know.
For sure.
Michelle Yeoh is fantastic in the film, and she was at IFFAM last year. So, you know, there are connections, I think, and so we want to just look at that.
Okay, so there are a lot of festivals in Asia. Like even in Macau, there's like Gold Airways Festival and then Asian Film Festival. How can you differentiate, and how do you want people to classify the IFFAM? How do you want people to see it?
We're an international film festival, so we have ambitions to have Macau see a range of films from around the world. We're not exclusively about Asian cinema. We want to bring in foreign guests. We want to bring in foreign industry. We want it to be a huge event. And that's not just about being a local event, it's being about an international event. So we're very ambitious in that respect.
Do you have any other plans for next year, though?
Well,
what are you adding for next year?
We don't know yet. We'll have to see what happens this year. But I think, you know, we want to really refine our program as the years go on, make sure that the sections are working. I mean, it's incredible to see the power of some of our classic films that we're showing. We have a section called Director's Choice, where visiting directors choose their favorite classic films. And the ticket sales for those films is incredible, you know, for Lawrence of Arabia. Or Ozu's An Autumn Afternoon, you know, we're virtually sold out. So I think there's an appetite in Macau for different kinds of films, for new films, but also for the classics.
And I think it's the best time to invite our audience for the film festival.
Please come to the International Film Festival and Awards Macau this week. You won't be disappointed. The films will stimulate you and excite you and hopefully make you laugh and make you cry.
Thank you so much, Mike, and we've learned a lot about IFFAM.
Thank you, Karen.
Join us again next week for another episode of TDM Talk Show. I'm your host, Karen Keith. Have a good night.